I'm going to talk about unreliable narrator, which is also called the fallible narrator. Now, this is something very important to question because, first of all, according to exam point of view, we should remember that the concept of unreliable narrator or infallible narrator, a kind of narrator when he narrates a story. First of all, we should remember that unreliable narrator can be there in a television serial also, in a film also, and in a story also, and in a novel also. Okay. So he tells the story, but we don't understand either, or we don't believe him. Clear. So he's very untrustworthy storyteller, and most of the time, this kind of storytelling by unreliable narrator is in the first person narration. Clear. Second important thing, that who coined the term unreliable narrator. So Wayne C. Booth, Wayne Booth, Booth. He's a very famous writer. His book Rhetoric of Fiction, which was first published in 1961, and it was republished in 1983. This book is very famous, and there the writer has discussed first time that who is a reliable narrator and who is an unreliable narrator. Let me inform you that after 1850s, in the mid of the Victorian age, till now, unreliable narrator is more in trend, more famous, and it is mostly concerned with postmodern kind of theory and postmodern kind of literature. Now let us talk about that. What are the characteristics of this kind of a narrator? First of all, these narrators forces a reader to question their credibility. Okay, and next important point is like in some books you will find that there are four types, and there are some books where there are five types are mentioned. So let me talk about five types. First is picaro. Everybody knows that picaro is a Spanish word, from which the word picaresque novel has also, is there in our literature. One who is a kind of thug, or a kind of a highwayman, one who keeps roaming all the time in the narration. Okay, so he has a knack for skill or over exaggeration in the fiction. Who? Picaro. Picaro is a kind of an unreliable narrator. The most famous example is Moll Flanders, written by Daniel Defoe. Okay. Second is madman. Everybody knows that we mostly don't believe a person, one who is not in his wits or say senses. Clear. So for example, Franz Kafka's in some of his stories there are certain self-alienated and self-contradictory narrators are there. Okay, Franz Kafka, whose Metamorphosis is very famous, and another important madman unreliable narrator is you must be knowing about Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe. That very famous story where somebody has been murdered, and that person who lives in that house, he says that I hear a heartbeat, and then later on we come to know that that murdered person was buried there in the floor. Okay, so one is picaro, another one is unreliable narrator is madman. Third is knife, Naif. It's a new word for you. Knife, sometimes due to lack of age, lack of experience, or more of an experience, certain narrators they inform us something. For example, like suppose an aged person tell you something, and mostly we don't believe because we have not reached that age. Or suppose a child tells us something about a story, we mostly feel that he must be lying or she must be lying. So knife is a third category of unreliable narrator. And Holden Caulfield in The Catcher of the Rye, must be knowing, with a very famous American novel, and Huckleberry Finn, by Mark Twain. So these two are very famous unreliable narrators in the category of knife. And the fourth one is liar. There can be many characters in the depth of literature where the narrators are liars. For example, if you remember this very famous detective story by Agatha Christie, in which Dr. James Shepard is the narrator who helps the detective Hercule Poirot, and I don't remember the name of the story right now. It's a very famous one. It's mostly taught. Clear. So Agatha Christie has created that character, unreliable narrator, where he helps the detective, but somehow we are not sure whether he's telling the lie or not. Clear. Next, the fifth one, which has been mentioned somewhere and in some of the books, not, that is the clown. So, clown means, if you remember Tristram Shandy's novels, that character who keeps talking about, how he was even conceived by his parents, isn't it? So, this is another category. So then unreliable narrator overall categories are like, for example, Midnight's Children, Salim Sinai. You must have seen, if you have gone through the original text, that after every a paragraph where Salim Sinai is narrating his story, there comes some gap either, or there are certain stylistic devices of three dots. So he gets lost in his own ideas, and sometimes a reader questions whether he's able to remember the things properly or not. Clear. So then it's a technique, actually, unreliable narrator, by creating an unreliable narrator, because everybody knows that literature is somehow a kind of falsity. We mostly say that literature is a reflection of life, but reflection itself is a kind of a copy, a mimetic thing, something which is not true. Clear. So in art, because literature is an art, in art, if we are trying to show something, we cannot say with a camera, even camera. If suppose for a detective, somebody has put a bugged room, like put a camera somewhere, hidden camera, and then somebody notices, then we can say that it is a truth. But camera of a film also, where the according to the director, the things have been arranged. So we cannot say that even films are reliable things, and literature itself is a product of the subconscious and conscious part of the writer's mind. Clear. So this is something very important for all of us. Another very famous character, unreliable character, comes to my mind, that is Henry James' famous detective story, or say a kind of gothic story, The Turn of the Screw. Clear. And so this is a small talk on fallible or unreliable narrator. I hope you would like this video and would write comments also. Thank you very much.